News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. In light of a foreseeable offensive by the Syrian military against rebels in the Deraa and Quneitra districts, Israeli officials have emphasized that they will not permit a single Syrian refugee to cross into Israel. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov asserts that, contrary to Israeli claims, Iran's military presence in Syria was limited, while warning that there was no justification for Israel's airstrikes on Syrian sovereign territory. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned once again of the aggression posed by Iran and its proxies across the Middle East, while emphasizing that Israel will not allow the Islamic Republic to develop nuclear weapons or entrench itself militarily in Israel's northern neighbor Syria. In light of a foreseeable offensive by the Syrian military against rebels in the Deraa and Quneitra districts, Israeli officials have emphasized that they will not permit a single Syrian refugee to cross into Israel. That said, Israel is reportedly preparing to transfer large quantities of food and medical supplies to assist refugees on the Syrian side of the border. Meanwhile, a high-ranking security official noted that Jerusalem retains all options for action in the event that the Syrian offensive would threaten Israel's interests and undermine the long-lasting ceasefire that was in place on the Golan Heights until 2011, prior to the Syrian civil war. Israeli officials believe that the current activity of the Syrian military in the Deraa district, which is located adjacent to the border with Jordan, is just a prelude to an all-out offensive. As of now, the warfare is confined to the towns and villages at the outskirts of the district and is intended to pressure the rebels to switch sides and support the Assad regime. According to an Israeli assessment, the large-scale military operation, for which the Syrians have already deployed 2 divisions, is dependent on understandings reached between Russian President Vladimir Putin and the United States National Security Advisor John Bolton, which took place on Wednesday. The two set a meeting between President Putin and President Trump and will take place in the Finnish capital Helsinki on the 16th of July, and the Syrian offensive is not expected to begin before that summit. The Syrian offensive in Deraa and Quneitra, which is backed by Russia, and the expected takeover by the Assad regime of the Syrian side of the Golan Heights, were reportedly at the focus of a meeting that was held by Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman with his Russian counterpart Sergei Shoigu in Moscow at the end of May. During the meeting, it was made clear that Israel would not tolerate violations of the 1974 disengagement agreements and would respond with force to any violation. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov claimed that, contrary to Israeli claims, Iran's military presence in Syria was limited. In an interview to Israeli media, the Russian Deputy Foreign Minister asserted that there was no justification for Israel's airstrikes on Syrian sovereign territory, further warning that these airstrikes contravened international accords and served only to strengthen terrorism. Now to the Israeli Air Force base of Hatzerim, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned once again of the aggression posed by Iran and its proxies across the Middle East, while emphasizing that Israel will not allow the Islamic Republic to develop nuclear weapons or entrench itself militarily in Israel's northern neighbor Syria. In an address to the IDF's pilots course graduation ceremony, the Israeli leader pointed to Iran's deteriorating economy, which according to Netanyahu is caused by U.S. President Donald Trump's historic decision to quit the nuclear agreement. Furthermore, the Prime Minister stressed that while many countries around the world warned of a reality in which the Iranian nation would unite around the Ayatollah regime in the face of new American sanctions, the mass public demonstrations across Iran clearly proves to the contrary.
את השוק האיראני והפגנות ההמונים באיראן מלמדות שהמאמצים שלנו להעמיד את איראן במקומה נושאים פרי. לא תמיד היו פני הדברים כך. תחילה עמדנו לבד בהתנגדותנו להסכם הגרעין הרע עם איראן, הסכם שמימן את שאיפות ההתפשטות והתוקפנות שלה. אבל לא הרפאנו. וטוב שכך, כי החלטת הנשיא טראמפ, החלטה היסטורית, שקיבל נשיא ארצות הברית לפרוס מהסכם הגרעין יוצרת היפוך אסטרטגי במצבה של ישראל. איראן נקלעה לטלטלה כלכלית בעקבות חידוש הסנקציות נגדה. זרימת הכסף הגדול לקופתה נעצרה בחריקת בלמים. העם האיראני מרגיש היטב בכיסו את ההשלכות של הקנאות הפונדמנטליסטית של שליטיו. ובניגוד גמור למה שאמרו מומחים בינלאומיים, החזרת הסנקציות לא רק שלא ליכדה את הציבור האיראני סביב המשטר, ההפך הגמור קרה. רבים באיראן מבינים שמשטר האייתולות מבזבז משאבים אדירים על חתרנות צבאית מבחוץ, במקום להשקיע בצורכי האזרחים בבית פנימה.
Netanyahu, who repeatedly warns of Iran's malign activities in many of his public addresses, said that he continues to point to the dangers of the Islamic Republic because it remains the greatest threat to Israel's existence.
אני מדבר על איראן משום שזה האיום הגדול ביותר על קיומנו, ואנחנו נחושים לבלום את האיום הזה. מוקדם מדי לקבוע כיצד יתפתחו הדברים, אבל הכיוון ברור. מכונת המזומנים של התוקפנות האיראנית נופצה, ואנו, צה"ל ובתוכו חיל האוויר, ממשיך לפעול בעוצמה נגד מטרות איראניות במרחב. אנחנו נגן בנחישות חסרת פשרות על גבולותינו, על ריבונותנו, על ביטחון אזרחינו. אנחנו נמשיך לפעול בטווחים קרובים ורחוקים, בזירות גלויות ועלומות, נגד מבקשי נפשנו.
Meanwhile, in New Delhi, India, spokesman for the Indian Foreign Ministry noted that India will comply to American demands to cut imports from and to the Islamic Republic of Iran. The demand, which was made by the U.S. State Department, asked from all countries around the world to cut oil imports from Iran to zero or face crippling sanctions.
I think it talks about reducing imports of oil from Iran to zero by 4th November. It should be noted that the statement was not India specific, and it applies to all countries across the world. As far as we are concerned, we will take all necessary steps, including engagement with relevant stakeholders